What's good, YouTubers? It's your boy Tony, aka Descendant of Chaos and Controversy. And yes, this is a video that I've been wanting to do for quite some time now. Due to some of the rhetoric, due to some of the misconceptions, me wanting to debunk some things and bring clarity to something because I've said this when it came to me responding or posting comments under certain posts that dealt with law enforcement. And for the most part, I've advocated for my people who are of the black community. But now I'm going to advocate for people who are of the white community who have been affected by the unjust killings and brutality by the hands of law enforcement. Because I'm doing this intentionally because there is a misconception that white people are exempt from being unjustly subjected to such unjust actions by the hands of law enforcement. And we have been conditioned to believe and think that it's only a issue amongst the black community, and it's not. And it's not. So now I'm gonna do this video for the sake and purpose of clarification. And yes, I've did my due diligence, my research to present facts and examples of white people who've been messed over by law enforcement and are either traumatized or are no longer with us. Because people want you to believe that it's only a black issue, and I'm telling you it's not. Part of the reason is they don't get the exposure, or there isn't much outcry or outrage in the white community as there is when it comes to black folks in their community. Okay? Why that is, I don't have the answer. I can't speak for other people. I can't. I can only present what I know. Okay? So, a lot of people, uh, and I'm gonna do side by side comparisons if I can. There was a lot of conflict and controversy that surrounded the whole Breonna Taylor case, right? Okay, and her boyfriend and him shooting the officer due to the no knock warrant, right? But I'm sure many of you prior to this case can remember there was a similar incident in Houston, Texas that dealt with the white couple. Now there was supposedly was this informant that had bought black tar heroin from this particular house. What you found out later that was not the case. It wasn't. But based off of that faulty intel, cops proceeded to come into these people's home. And you know how Houston is a stand your ground state. So you come into somebody's home, most likely you're looking to get shot. And four officers got shot. The couple were executed. It was unjust. And this was in Houston, Texas. Um Now, I know there's a lot of people who talk about how it seems like white people can get away with stuff, whatever, if they have firearms and stuff like that. That's not always the case. Moving right along to the next example. Ryan Whitaker, that situation that happened in Phoenix, Arizona. There was a disturbance call, right? Now, this man had just dealt with his daughter's graduation. He was in his own home with his girlfriend playing video games, whatever. There was a knock on the door. Now, at this time, considering the climate of what was going on with all these people, with the Black Lives Matter and all this stuff, and Antifas and people, just antagonizing people, people were on edge. So when you have these cops knocking and stuff like that, the guy answered the door, and he answered the door, and I've covered this story with his firearm down. So you had officers in front of him, officers behind him, and all they said was, He has a weapon. Put the weapon down. It was a matter of seconds, not even minutes, before this man was unjustly executed. And then they want to like talk crazy to his girlfriend. She was like, hysterical by right. What did you do? Would you, ma'am? He had a firearm. Okay, he had a firearm. Did you give this man a chance? No, you didn't. You unjustly executed him. Now, side by side comparisons, people talk about black people who have firearms legally and get killed by the police. Okay. But what about Ryan Whitaker? He's a prime example, and I'm sure there's plenty of others I have yet to look up, but I'm sure there are other law-abiding citizens that have the right to conceal and carry, whatever. But there was arguments that say, he shouldn't have answered the door with the firearm, whatever, whatever. But did that justify him getting shot? Because 9 times out of 10, if it was a law enforcement officer and you came to his house, how do you think he would answer his door if given the circumstances? But they'll get a pass, right? Just because they're law enforcement officers. See the bias in that shit? Okay, I also covered this other story about the canine attack for Trinity Ann Fleming, who was driving, and I guess cops were in pursuit of her. She came to a stop, and she ended up hopping out and going into the bushes hiding because she was, fearful, whatever. And upon doing that, she was attacked and mutilated by a canine. And the officer that was supposed to be in control of that canine gave further orders for that canine to attack a 19-year-old girl. Okay? Unarmed, didn't have anything on her, mauled, mutilated. And of course, there was another example of a black woman who also got attacked by a canine, but it was mostly to her arms and legs or whatever. But it goes to show you side by side comparison. It's not just a black issue. These things go on in the white community as well. But people don't want to pay attention to that. They rather ignore or disregard because it doesn't fit their particular details and narratives. But I'm shedding light on this. Okay, Daniel Shaver. I'm sure people remember this one. In the hotel, when it seemed like there was that SWAT unit that came, and the guy came out, he was complying and stuff. He was on the ground, hands up and everything. And the shooter, Philip Mitchell, what is his name? Philip Mitchell? Philip Mitchell, Bransford, whatever his name is, giving them orders and stuff, and they were just talking crazy to this guy. Now you in a situation, and I'm sure anybody, you got all these SWAT, you're not gonna do anything crazy. You're coming out in your t-shirt and your shorts, and you're scared. You're like, okay, these cops, you don't want to get shot. These cops know you don't want to get shot, right? No, you don't want to get shot. So you're trying to comply, follow every instructions, and he made one false fatal error. He's crawling, and he went to, I guess, adjust his shirt, because he's panicking. I mean, nobody's ever been in this situation before. You're not trained to be dealing with this stuff when encountering law enforcement. Guy let off 5 rounds, ended that guy's life. And people want to talk about, oh, in the black community, there's never any justice served, when cops get off. Well, guess what? There's no justice served with the white folks either, because this cop was acquitted, found of no wrongdoing. So you can't tell me that all across the board, the system caters to one side and not the other. It's not. It's not true. It's not true. In some cases, yeah, you may see that. based on some convictions and stuff like that. But when it comes to law enforcement, nah. Okay, Zachary Hammond, young kid. Um, this is out of South Carolina. He was at a Hardee's drive-through. Now, okay, people have been giving me flack about the Rikia Young incident, saying that this woman was using her vehicle as a weapon to run down police. Nonsense. That's not the case. That's not what happened. So believe what you want to believe. Convince yourself whatever you want to convince yourself of, but that's a false narrative. And facts have already came out in that case stating, that not to be true. But again, cops will justify their actions through lies so they can get the sympathy of, the public to side with them and not with the person who they done victimized. Which in this case, with Zachary Hammond, he was in the drive-thru at Hardee's. Now, here's the lie that the cops spilled out with this kid. Young white boy. They said that he tried to come at them with his vehicle. Now, if you're coming at the person, wouldn't you be shooting through the windshield and not the driver's side of the door? See, when things don't add up and the narrative is conflicted, and people who utilize common sense can see nonsense for what it's worth, because if you pay attention to detail, you know there are faulty facts that can be disputed. And of course, they are found not guilty because, a police can spin whatever narrative they can to get themselves off the hook. Meanwhile, you're laying 6 feet deep underneath the dirt and you can't even defend yourself. Oh, and by the way, the body cams wasn't working. Okay. Here we go. Now, a lot of people like to crack jokes about black folks calling 911 and yeah, you got what you got, you get what you deserve when you call the police, this, that, and everything else. You shouldn't have been doing anything wrong, right? And then black people say, and this is the outcry, this is the point that black people be trying to make. Why call the police if they are going to be of no help and they are going to be just as bad, if not worse, than the criminals who you call them for to, how should I say, do their job in apprehending or getting involved with to de-escalate. This wasn't the case with Justine Damon. This happened in Minnesota. This woman, she was an Australian woman. She was set to be married. She called 911 to report a disturbance. Okay. Now, upon them arriving to the location, she comes out in her pajamas to inform the officers, hey, I'm the one who called and was trying to give the details. The officer within the patrol car shot through the patrol car at her, killing her. So you can't even call the cops. Oh, let me clarify. This was everybody that I'm pointing out are all white. Are all white. Okay? So this white woman called the cops, reported a disturbance. And because she did that, she ended up getting killed by the police. The people who you call to serve, to protect, did none of that. Now, she doesn't get to marry the person who she was in love with. It's just disgusting. Okay? There was another case in Kansas City where This person actually was able to get married, but that was short lived. In Kansas City, a firefighter by the name of Anthony Bruno. There was a fight. There was a off-duty officer, and they got into a physical altercation. The physical altercation ended in a fatality. The officer shot and killed Anthony Bruno. Now, there are a lot of people who like to come at me and saying that, when it comes to black people, oh, you guys should comply, do this, do that, and everything else. And if you didn't confront the police, you wouldn't got, and these are white people who come at me with these arrogant, condescending, non-empathetic. But where you lack empathy is where I have. Because even though this man engaged with this officer physically, this firefighter engaged with the police officer, do I feel that he should have gotten shot and killed? No. Shit happens. But the thing is with law enforcement is that they're quick to want to hand out the ass whoopings. They're quick to want to kill you. But when the shoe's on the other foot and they're on the other end of getting their ass whooped, they can't handle it. Just like, and I'm gonna point this out as an example. Just like when you get two black people, right? And you got one that's good with their hands and the other one that isn't. And that person mollywop the shit out of that other black dude, right? Now that other person's all in his feelings. He can't take that ass whooping because his ego, his pride is hurt. He can't have none of that. So what does he do? Goes home, talks to his brother, talks to one of his thuggish friends, get himself a little 9mm, come back, confronts the person who whooped his ass fair and square, and boom, done. Same theme and concept when it comes to the police. Oh, don't get the upper hand on the police, because their pride and their ego gets hurt real quick. They can't take an ass whooping. But let it be one of them gym fanatic, muscle bound, chest all pumped up officers. And you get this little scrawny dude or whatever. They're beating the crap out of them because they know who they can and who they can't mess with. But get someone of equal stature, that's when the artillery comes out. That's when they pull them tools and stuff. Okay, the last example that I have is this college kid by the name of James King. Now, I don't mean to laugh, but it's what you call the hint of irony. Now, we had this incident not too long ago where they had this guy who was jogging or whatever, and the police stopped him with this you fit the description of, okay? And black people get this a lot. But you very rarely hear this when it comes to white people. But in this particular case with James King, he was a college student. He was on the phone talking with his sister. And apparently from the witness account, there was a guy by the name of Alan. I'm assuming he was undercover. He must have been plainclothes clothes, because if the guy knew that it was an officer, he would have known that it was an officer. But the guy just went in his back pocket, took his wallet out. So the guy thought he was being mugged, And here's what I don't get. These officers create a scenario, create predicaments that if they put themselves in the other person's shoes, they will understand the mindset and the mentality and the perception that these people have when it comes to these situations that they create and put these people in. If somebody come in digging in my back pocket, I'm thinking you trying to rob me. Who are you to violate my personal space? And I'm gonna give you an example. I was robbed. When I was homeless, and I was sleeping, like on the corner outside in the cold, and I woke up to somebody digging in my pocket, grabbing my phone, stealing my phone, and taking my wallet out of my pocket, and I had a gun pointed at me. I mean, it's these scenarios that play out that these officers just don't take a step back and look at how things are played out and where these people are coming from. They don't take no accountability and no responsibility. They just expect you to just automatically and immediately adapt to a situation just because their presence is there. But if you don't give no acknowledgement that you're an officer, you're just another Joe Schmo as far as any average citizen is concerned, and they're going to react in the manner that you would expect them to. But instead they were beating the crap out of them, and there's this woman that was calling the cops on the cops, saying they're assaulting this guy, they're beating him up, and then it comes to find out it was the DEA or undercover cops and stuff, and they were looking for another white guy with blonde hair. He had brown hair. This dude had blonde hair and glasses and stuff like that. They beat the brakes off of this guy. He had to be hospitalized. He had fractures and everything. It's insane. Now, I'm going to give you the names of the people, and you can look it up yourself because I had to look this up. So I'm not going to do the work for you. You're going to have to go look these stories up yourself. The white couple executed in Houston by a no-knock warrant. You can look it up just by that information right there. Ryan Whitaker, out of Phoenix. Trinity Ann Fleming, K9 attack. Daniel Schaefer, complying, and this was a case out of Arizona. Zachary Hammond, case out of South Carolina. Justine Damon, the case out of Minnesota. Anthony Bruno, case out of Kansas City. And James King, I don't know where that location was taking place at, but just look up his name and that you can follow. So to elaborate on what I'm saying is that there are stories that are briefly touched upon, but there's no follow through. There's no outcry. There's no marching or protesting when it comes to what white people go through when it comes to these attacks and unjust killings by law enforcement or these sub police agencies or whatever. And I did this just to bring clarification, to debunk the myth of it only being a black issue. Now I've came with validation. I've came with examples. So for anybody who has a problem when I make a statement to say, hey, okay, so yeah, this black person got killed or this white person got killed, I gave you side by side parallel analogies and examples. So when people want to get mad and get snarky, like I said, don't approach me with stupidity. Approach me with a sense of logic and have facts to back up your argument. If you want to debate me, you better do your due diligence. You better do your research before you come at me with some stupid shit, is what I'm saying. But that's all I got. Until next time, please like, share, and subscribe. To the next video. Peace.